everybody out there. I'm Ricky Rourke, and I'm with Anel from NKY Bees. Um, the reason for the stream I decided to do was to do more of people that build hives, uh, build their own equipment, and design new designs. And when it all comes down to it, it's about building something that works best for you and your bees. And a little bit about Anel here. He when I first got on YouTube, he had just started creating horizontal hives, and he really had some really cool designs. And I was following along watching him, and I had already made my first horizontal hive before I even did my YouTube channel. So his information to me was great, and he was doing these really weird designs, and I had weird designs in my head. So I said, hey, this guy's cool. I kept in touch with him. I watched what he did. And that's why he's on here tonight, because, he's a designer. He's a builder. He loves beekeeping. Can't beat somebody like that, right? And so I thought about having him for my first guest, because he kind of was on YouTube the same time I was, kind of like Brian with Castle Hives. There's a lot of guys that I'm sure Nell and me both talked to a lot that it's not even on here anymore. So, but I really wanted to highlight the inventor part of beekeeping, because if you, as a inventor or designer, if I'm listening to what my bees are telling me they want, I can come up with some really cool ideas and maybe something new that can help a lot of people. And that's why I did this channel, is to talk to many different creators. So, Anel, I'm so glad to have you on here today, buddy.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, I'm
This
glad you're my first person on here that hopefully this doesn't go bad. So, but anyway, what I really wanted to highlight is your techniques. You build horizontal hives, and I'm going to tell everybody out there, you don't have to have a horizontal hive to keep bees. I mean, there's many different ways to do that. It's just something I prefer. I know Annette likes those, and just like me, he has vertical hives also. So we're just not straight horizontal, especially when you get to having 30 some colonies. So, but now just for my viewers, tell me, how long have you been beekeeping?
So it's year 5 now. So I've started just before COVID. I've started beekeeping, and I, fell in love with it, just like you and everybody else. So it's been 5 years, and I don't think I'll ever stop, actually. As long as I can do it, and thanks to the horizontal hive, I can probably do it for a long time,
Right.
even if I can't lift the vertical hives and boxes. So,
Right.
yep.
So how many hives are you running right now?
So currently I am at 15.
Okay.
15. So the most I've had was 17 this year, and I've had a couple of them. One I combined and another one absconded. My fault, happens in beekeeping.
Well,
But yeah, so I'm down 15, and probably that's what I'm gonna stay at. That's my kind of a sweet spot.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, just with work and everything else, that's how
Sure.
much time I have to keep 15 hives for
Right.
now. Unfortunately, I can't retire yet, so yeah. So
Well,
yeah, I'll keep it at 15 for now.
yeah. Well, do you sell any of your hives? Because that might be a way to retire. I need a good competitor here, so I know you make good quality stuff. So
I do not actually. I have not sold. I've been asked by a couple of people to build them hives,
yeah,
and I just haven't got to it. Like during the summer, it's so busy for me. It's really with the job and everything else. It's not possible for me. But during the winter, I'll probably have time to build some more hives and some more weird stuff I can come up with. Yeah. So I have not sold any yet.
okay. Well, I see. We talked about Brian from Castle Hives, and of course he pops on here. So how's it going, Brian? Hope you're doing good tonight.
Oh, there he is. Yep, he's
Yeah,
on here.
yeah. So, but
One day, Ricky, one day I'll be like Brian, hashtag 50.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, he told me what, like, honey, how many hives did Brian say he was wanting?
40.
He said 40, and he was at Greg's place, Greg Burns's place, and he was getting more boxes and stuff. And I'm like, you know, you said 40, but you know, I think you're going over that. So,
Yep.
but anyway, like giving Brian a hard time. He's a great guy. Um, so, uh, so how many horizontal hives do you have now?
I've got uh, 9.
Nine.
So I've got 9. Couple are not in use. So
Right.
I've got some ideas I want to do with them. Some ideas I probably stole from you. Not probably. I stole
No.
from you. So I'm gonna. I left a couple of purposely out without bees, just so I can modify some things during this winter. So I
Right.
can get. So I can, like I said, build some weird stuff.
Right. So, have you built any vertical hive boxes or anything? Have you done any of that also, or just horizontal?
I've just built horizontal hives. I do have vertical hives. I don't know if I move, you can see them behind me. I've got multiple different hives. I like to experiment, but I
Mm-hmm.
have only built horizontal hives. Actually, I haven't built any vertical hives. I was thinking about building them with better wood,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
2 inch like we do for horizontal hives. I was thinking
Right.
about building vertical hives too with the same. I just think it's more insulated. It would be better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to experiment.
Another project for us to try, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I always thought, you know, why not do like hard maple or do something like that? I know the weight's going to be a little heavier, right? But you're getting a better wood, you know, may last longer. You know, I don't know. It's just something to think about, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have couple this winter. I'll have couple done. When I build other stuff, I'll build couple of vertical ones, but with thicker wood, just to see if the insulation is better. I look at these like what is it, maple? Now
Yeah.
most of these are built, they're just so thin, and I think like thicker wood would be a lot more insulation, and I think it would be better for bees, but who knows?
Yeah, I think a lot of the regular vertical hives are made from, you know, pine, hoop pine.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, but you know, could you get into some of the other woods? I know. I think that's the Bug Farmer, and there's another gentleman that has built these different kind of designs, more insulated bottoms. So you know, I think there's a lot to that that design process. So. Um, what made you decide to build your first horizontal hive?
so I've never built one before. Before I built my first one, I've built a couple of things before with wood, just not a hive.
Right.
And my biggest thing was I don't like taking apart the vertical hive boxes. So
Right.
I ran double deeps. So single deeps I tried, and it just seems like they swarm every 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I gave I gave up. So I went to doubles, and I just taking especially when you first start. So you have to take the whole hive apart. You don't
Hmm.
know. You're looking for a queen. You now I can just look at it and see this hive's okay, but it's different now after few years.
Right.
But so I didn't like taking apart everything. It just seems like I'm disturbing bees so much.
Right.
And then I'm like, this just there's got to be a better way. So
Yeah.
I YouTubed it, Googled it, and saw somebody build a horizontal hive. I'm like, this is perfect.
It's got to
So,
work, right?
yep. And so I went for it. I'm like, let me see how it's built. And I kind of did it my way, but I found out like the basics of how people build it. So I'm like, this is, I don't know why everybody doesn't use it.
Right.
Then I realized you can't really use it kind of for commercial purposes. It's a
Right.
little different.
Correct.
And yeah, that's really the reason started because I would take them, especially during summer,
Hmm.
take the hives apart, so many bees, and it just seems like a mess. And
Yeah.
I'm like, there's got to be an easier way to do this.
Sure. You don't have all that cross combing and not squishing the bees when you're putting your boxes back together. And And if I want to go in, I know where my honey's at. I know where my brood's at in this box. I can
Exactly.
get in there and do that kind of work, right? So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. It
that
was
that's
just too much.
yeah, that's the same mindset I had when I did it. And my back, was bad at the time, and I said I got to have something different. You know,
Yeah.
and again that goes back to you know this might work for me, but it might not work for another beekeeper. You know what I'm saying? They might, vertical hive might work great for them, or an apame hive, plastic. They just, it's different for different folks. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing too, lifting those heavy boxes. So when I first started, I didn't realize a small box like a super, how heavy it can be. I
yeah,
didn't, it just looks like it's a small box, right? So you're
yeah,
like, yeah, it can't be that heavy.
you're right,
Yes, yes, it can. When it's full of honey, it can be heavy.
right,
So
right. I think a gentleman on here he asked me this question, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Ricky, did you build any Slovenian hives? And that is on my list to build. I'm not really familiar with it. I'll probably have to buy one just so that I know how it works correctly. And I'd like to incorporate that in a horizontal hive and see how that comes out. So, what about you? Now, have you ever thought about building a Slovenian hive?
I have, I have. So I'm originally from Bosnia, which used to be part of Slovenia,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
So I wanted to build one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But most of where I come from originally, most of the hives are Slovenian hives, and
Okay.
they're kind of similar, but they're different because you pull them out like this and horizontally, and they seem to work really good because like
Okay.
I watched some people they actually use those hives and they seem to be really good. So that's probably on the agenda somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere, maybe this winter, maybe not. I don't know,
Right.
but it's on the agenda to build one.
Right. And I'm like you. It's just something that I haven't gotten to yet, but something I will later on down the road. So,
Yep, exactly.
all right. This Lee, can you pull up the photo of Anel's first hive, please?
I'm just looking at like the chat over here too. I don't think I can read things and talk.
I'm trying right now, but this is difficult for me. Like I said, it's my first time, so
Yeah,
Hey, Grayson, how's it going, brother? That's his observation hive. Can you get the one? It says my first hive on it.
you really dug around and found things, Ricky.
Yeah, well, I had to go back and watch some of your videos, and there's a lot of stuff that I had forgotten, to be honest with you. I'm like, oh yeah, he had done that. I remember that now. So
Yeah, because it's so
yeah,
many videos though.
it,
You have to watch for a long time. It's you forget. You have to go back and remind yourself.
right. And here, this I think this is your first hive, and you know, it and it and it works. It's a very functional hive. I think this is the first video I watched of yours, and guys, this is his videos. You can go watch it. I pulled it off his channel, but it's simple. It works. I think you left a little lap over here for your hinges, and that way that door opens up and it bites and it holds that lid up. Correct. So
Correct. Yes. This was my first hive I built, the horizontal hive. It was the simplest one, and I think to this day is the best one.
that's the way it works.
Yeah, I know. It was like the simplest one. It was just a, horizontal hive, not much going on there. Like, like you said, left an overlap to kind of click in to close everything to eliminate the draft.
Yeah.
And it works just fine. Bees actually make it every year in this hive. So the simplest thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all around a great hive, and with this hive, I think you've overlapped the sides of it also, so you don't really have to put a seal in it. That lid's really going to fit down flat, not allow any airflow to come through it. So that's a pretty cool design,
Yeah,
and I think anybody starting out might be able to build something like this. I think but it's high quality. It works, right?
exactly. Yep. So this one's, I think, 33 frames.
Okay.
So if I if I would build it again,
Hmm.
my thing is I might have built it a little smaller,
Hmm.
down to, I would say maybe like 25, between
Right.
25 and 30 frames,
Yeah.
just because I see that there is a lot of wasted space. So
Yeah.
it's just something that I learned as I went, as I built hives. I
Right.
learned as I had bees in horizontal hives. I
Yeah.
don't, maybe they can. I mean, sometimes there's a huge colony, they can fill them out, but the bees I
Yeah.
have in here, in this hive, Carniolan bees,
Mm.
they don't build out all 30 frames. They don't
Right.
fill them up.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
And a lot of people don't. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize with a horizontal hive, they're filling out 15 to 18 frames of brood, and then you're getting your honey, and it's 3 or 4 frames of honey, and you can take that out, spin those few frames out, and then put those back in, and do it all over again. You don't have to have a huge, I've made them 6 feet long now, so you don't
yep.
have to have them that big. Now, with one like that, I see you have a double entrance, so you could put 2 colonies in there. Not, is that not correct?
Exactly. Yes. Yes, you can. So that was the purpose of having two entrances. I said maybe I'll have two hives, and so the plan was to have two hives on the sides and have them fill the honey in the middle. Both colonies work
Correct.
together.
Right.
Um, yeah. So that's why I built it that big at first. I'm like, and then if I don't have two colonies, I can have one. You can just close out the entrance, close it off and don't use it. So
Right.
it was the still my favorite hive. So
Right.
it's your first hive.
Right. Yeah. And let me ask you something else about that. Now, a lot of people bang me up because my entrance is right in the center, and you have your entrances either on the right or left. Do you feel like the entrance, how much do you feel like the entrance plays a part on how well the hive does, or is there really any difference? Have you tried the center position for any of your hives?
I don't think it plays any at all. So I have, like, if you look at, I don't know if you can guys see behind me, the yellow hive,
Hmm.
exactly that entrance right in the middle,
Yeah.
and the purple hive, for example, and all the other ones have on the side.
Yeah.
I don't see any difference whatsoever.
And that's what I'm learning with my cutouts that I'm doing, that that entrance can be anywheres inside that hive. It could be at the top and then they're building down from there. It could be in the bottom and they're building up. I mean, bees will make it work. It's us that kind of get caught up on, oh, it's got to be right here.
Yeah.
So I look at it this way: the customer's always right, so I let them choose where they want that entrance at. So
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it. Like, I want to bring this up too, if we got time,
sure.
we do.
Yeah.
So I've seen the entrance. They say the brood is next to the entrance,
Yeah.
usually right there by it. But I've seen, for example, my blue hive behind me here has its brood way out where the honey is supposed to be. By our standards, um,
Okay.
it's usually brood then honey at the end. Well,
Correct.
it's opposite. I don't know why, but it's opposite. So the brood is all the way where there is almost no air going in there. It's like, everything's closed back there.
Closed up.
That's
Yeah.
where the brood is, and the honey is right next to the entrance.
Right.
Which,
Right.
you know, it's kind of, I don't know. They do what they want.
That's right.
I don't
Well,
think it matters where you put the entrance. They'll just do what they want.
they will 100%. And even with the center position, I let the bees choose which direction they want to go. And
Yep.
a lot of times, what I'm seeing is the rising of the sun. They kind of build that brood nest that way. I don't know if they're getting more warmth or they want that warmth during winter. And then when that sets, that's usually where they put their honey at. But that's not always the case. I have seen that different, and it's going to be different in locations. If you were in, say, Alabama, where it's super hot, that may be completely opposite. Maybe they don't want that heat, right?
Yep.
So there's somebody here now wants to know, where are you located?
Yeah, I see the question. Hey, Amir, I'm in northern Kentucky, so I'm right outside of Cincinnati,
Okay.
uh, on the line of Ohio, Cincinnati, and Indiana. So I've got three states around me.
Okay. Yeah. I think You're right next to Ohio. Is that correct? Is
Yes.
it
Yep.
okay?
Right,
Yeah.
right next to Ohio, right across the river from Ohio. So most of the time people think we're from Ohio anyway, because we're like a Cincinnati suburb.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I see Bruce from Swarmstead on here. So Bruce, it's good to have you on here tonight. You were like I was telling Nell, you're one of the people that I kind of watched when I first got into YouTube, and you guys have always been nice and offered me into your chats or allowed me to talk to you guys and or commented on my videos, and I do appreciate that over the years. It it's made me a better beekeeper by watching you guys. So,
I agree, Ricky.
yeah.
Did he change the name of Swarmstead Bees?
It used to be Swarm Set. I think he's
Right,
changed it, but yeah,
right. The added gardening. Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
yeah,
But yeah, it definitely makes you. One of the reasons I started the channel, Ricky, was because I like to see things.
uh
I
huh,
I can read things like 10 times, but if I see it once, I can do it or it makes sense. But
right,
reading it just not my thing. So it was a lot easier for me to show like when I had an issue with the hive, I would like hold up a frame and say, "What do you think? What's this? What's going on here?"
right,
I think it's a lot easier if people just see it and tell you what the problem is or give you some pointers so you can fix it.
right.
So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if everybody on here does any. Everybody does YouTube, puts videos up, but there's a lot of work, a lot of effort behind it, a lot of editing, and I haven't done many videos this year because it's a lot of work with everything else that's going on. Do you feel that way? And now with what you got going on in your life, I know there's a little bit of a period that you kind of stopped posting some videos also.
yep. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not just unless you can record a video in one shot, go in the hive and just record it and be perfect, that's
Yeah,
fine. I don't edit much. Like it's not like you're editing to make things look like something. It's just that sometimes you're doing something for 10 minutes in
right.
between. Like you don't really want that because it doesn't make sense. I'm off the camera for I don't know 10 minutes coming back doing something else. You got to cut all this stuff out and it does take time,
Yeah,
especially in a busy season. So it does cut into making videos. I haven't put out one in a while, but I have a different reason though. I can't get in the hives because the dirt is so bad here. We
right.
haven't had rain. This is the driest September on record in northern Kentucky.
Wow.
So we haven't had rain in more than a month at all and high temperatures. So flow this fall is non-existent. There is zero. And bees just as soon as you open a hive, there is robbing. I've tried
Oh,
a couple of times. Yeah, I've
wow.
tried a couple of times and I just can't. It's not fun stopping that stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of trouble when you're fighting them off. And it's been reversed here for where we are. We've had a lot of rain. The goldenrod's strong. It looks like I'm gonna get to pull some goldenrod honey, which not the best honey, but it's pretty cool to get some, right? So,
So
um, uh,
I've never had it actually. People say you either love it or you hate goldenrod honey. So I
I
don't
think
know.
I think the flavor's excellent. It's just that nasty sock smell that you get afterwards. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Gunline, we appreciate you coming out and being with us today and supporting us our first stream. So let's get you back on your hives and let's talk a little bit about your observation hive. Can you pull that up, Lee?
That's a really different one.
Yeah, that's
I-
you have taken this thing to the extremes, and it's really cool. I mean, I seen, I was like, I got to get something like that. I got to build something.
yeah, I've,
So,
I've had too much time on my hands that winter, so you can tell. But yeah,
it's a
so
yeah, yeah. It's a bee tank, not a fish tank, is what my wife said. So,
oh wow,
so
I've never heard that one before. I like it.
yeah, that's different. So, walk me through what you've done here because you've got a lot of stuff going on. So if you don't mind, walk me through it.
No, no, not at all. So this hive I wanted to make because if you see all the observation hives, usually you can see the horizontal, vertical, like just the ends of the frame.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I want to see what bees. Yeah, yes, this part.
Yeah.
Usually, this is what I see. There's a couple of different observation hives, and you can
Mhm.
see this. And I'm like, I want to see what bees do on comb. Like, I want to follow them filling up honey or just capping brood. I want to see. I want to be able to open this. And this is pretty big. I don't know, like on a picture if you can see it, but this is the entire side. This is entire hive. And I said I'm gonna build a window, and I'm gonna try to build a hive where you can see them vertically or horizontally. You can see two. Well, it was gonna be one frame, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, why not just make it a horizontal hive and make it two frames if I want to? So that's where it came from. I wanted to see it because a lot of people that came, like my friends and
Mhm.
people that came, they're like, "Can we see the bees? Can we see the bees?" And
Right.
we don't have that many like suits for everybody and stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna build this. You can just open a window, people can actually watch it and not get stung and be scared.
Yeah.
And that's really where it was born from. I wanted to show people what bees look like inside, what they do, how honey looks like, or whatever's on the last two frames. I did change them periodically when people wanted to see like brood. I would
Right.
put like new brood. So a couple of times you can see a queen on the frame, which is kind of,
Okay.
So I would, when I do inspection, I would change them. If honey's on the end, I would just take like a brood frame and put it on the end. So next time I'm showing somebody, they can see a different side of things. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where that came from. People wanted to see, and I'm like, I want to observe myself
Right.
because me and my wife will sit and just watch. Open this window, we'll watch for like an hour, like what bees do, and the things you can see. It's kind of, I don't know. It's always something different. It's amazing to me.
And you need to talk her into doing this, like this observation hive right here over my head, so that you can just sit there in your house and watch them, and not have to get outside on a rainy day. So
Believe me, that was discussed in in our household, and so that's probably down the road at some point. I love that, by the way.
and that's another cool feature with this horizontal hive. Even though you've cut this, plexiglass out, there's still a 3/4 inch board, going up against that plexiglass. So there's still good insulation, just like a vertical hive. And something I discussed with you, that we're seeing with some of the cutouts is there's a couple of combs this way, and the entrance is coming this way, so it kind of blocks some of the ventilation in, and then the comb turns the opposite direction. And that's kind of what you've kind of got here, which is kind of interesting that you have done something, maybe accidental, maybe you knew this already, I don't know, but something that the bees do in nature, and you've kind of created that same design, which is really cool.
Yeah, I would like to take the credit for knowing this is what happened, but honestly, it was by accident.
Right.
So when I first started this, so when I built it, I had to count the frames and
Hmm.
measure exactly how wide the height would be, so I can fit horizontally or vertically.
Right.
At first, it was going to be just like horizontally, so you can see the front of the frame.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, some people might not like that. They might want to like, look at this, the frames and see what bees do. So I'm like, if I make it at a specific measurement, I can actually flip the frames around the way I want. And it was like one of those things, I want to build something weird.
Yeah.
As I was building it, like ideas would come up, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna change this.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty cool just because you can. And I don't know if you can, if I have a video actually, I want to do, you see the little thing in the middle that
Yeah.
separates the frames where they rest on top.
Yeah.
There is a comb built there that goes
Okay.
down. There is about, maybe it's about half an inch or
Hmm.
so. They built comb there, and it's been there ever since they built it the first time. And
Uh-huh.
it serves kind of like an insulator. Instead of having a divider board, it's
Yeah.
actually, it closes it out only on the bottom. I'll probably show that in my next video actually. So only on the bottom they have holes where they go through. That's how they build the comb. And if
Okay.
they closed everything off, and they can go between the two places.
So has that got a queen excluder there in that area, Anil, or is
I
that
have
just okay?
I have one that I built, but I never used it.
But you
So
never used it. Okay.
yeah, I put it the first time I put in that I built it. There is a queen excluder. You can just it kind of slides right in, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
But I've never used it. I left it out, and they built comb to separate the two places. So when I do inspections, usually I would say 90% of the time in this hive, uh,
Hmm.
brood is on the left side as we're
Okay.
looking at it, and honey is on the right side. It's just how they decide to do this, but
Yeah.
it usually 90% of the time that's how it is. It's just brood on the left, and they do it by themselves. I don't encourage it or anything. I mean, I
Right.
can't, even if I
Right.
want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lamar, he's asked you another question on here, and says Anel suggestion top covers for frames makeup from plastic glass. He says I made a horizontal hive so I can see from the top and see what's going on, and I've made that same hive, and that's really good. And again, bring people in, open it up, and let them look down inside the hive. So have you tried that, Anel?
I have not, but I've seen your plexiglass tops, and
Yeah.
that's definitely what I'm doing. I'm fixing some of the hives, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
Probably even on this one, I might put a plexiglass cover so you can see from the top and the side. You can almost see the entire hive, basically.
Right.
But that's something I've seen on your hives,
Yeah.
and I will be stealing that.
Still
That
for that idea. Just take it on. It's no big deal. No big deal. So I will say that condensation does build a really heavy on that plastic inner cover because it's right above the bees. The wood won't soak in any of that moisture whatsoever. So just everybody be aware if you put that clear inner cover on there, you're going to have more moisture in that area. So
question on that real quick, Ricky. Can you make a hole on top of it, like I have on my wooden, to just
yes,
send the condensation out?
yeah, I mean you probably can't do well. Yeah, you could actually put a plug in that inner cover, that clear inner cover. I've seen people do that before. Allow
Okay.
that moisture to come up, or uh, maybe move over to the next section and make sure there's ventilation there for that moisture control. So
Yeah, that makes sense because I don't have like holes on all of my top covers. It's
right.
just probably couple on the entire hive, and that works just fine.
So let's talk about inner covers for just a second because that's a big debate on the horizontal level. A lot of people say you just need about 2 inches because you're just going to take a couple of little frames out. So, what's your opinion on that? Do you? Uh, I go a full inner cover because when you get in there, you're going to want to take a big section out and look at it. But I noticed your dividers look like they're about 8 inches. I mean, your inner cover is about 8 inches. So, uh, what's your suggestion on that?
So yeah, mine are about 8 to 10 inches. Then I don't have like a standard. It just depends at the time of this building. Some are smaller, some are longer. I'll fix that. But I think a little wider cover is better.
Yeah,
I
I
to
think
be honest, I have one that's only like 4 inches top, and there is a lot of them. There's like 20 throughout and I usually what I do, I take off like five of them.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why I do a whole inner cover because when you get in there, you're going to basically pull that whole piece off. But I
Yep.
will say you could do. I think 2 frames is too tight because you have to get your tool in there to get those frames out. But I think like you did, 8 to 10 inches, anywhere's in there's a very good size for your top covers. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
that's
I think when I uncover, I get like 4 to 5 frames, kind of a nook.
yeah,
So instead of and that's okay to work with. Once you're finished, you can just put the cover right back
right,
and then go to the next one.
right,
So I think like 4 or 5 frames. I think it's better than having it really really small to like 1 or 2 frames.
yeah.
It might be too tight to work
Yeah,
with.
you're taking a lot of those out at one time. But now this is just a suggestion. You've had horizontals for is it 3 years now? I think I've had them for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
horizontals I've had for about 3 years. Yep, actually
yeah.
3 years. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I think Joseph Rollins, he's got several hives, horizontal hives, and he says about 5 inches is kind of what he's thinking. So, and
Okay.
you know, you just got to have enough room to get in there and get your tool in and to open that area up. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about your drop bottom hive. I don't have a picture of it, but can you talk a little bit about why you decided to take the bottom of a hive and drop it down where it'll actually fold down? So can you explain that to some of us? Because that don't make much sense if a regular beekeeper is like, why would you take your whole bottom off? So can you explain that?
So yes, so the reason behind this was if you look at these like purple and yellow hive behind me, so these are smaller horizontal hives. So these are about 18 frames, I believe. It's been a little bit, but
Mhm.
17, 18 frames, it's around there. So the reason behind this was least interaction in the hive. So, checking for swarms during springtime and all of this. So I said, I don't want to go in there and move every frame. Let me build a smaller hive where I can actually put, well, supers didn't come up yet. So
Right.
in smaller hive, I can drop the bottom and
Hmm.
just check for the queen cells, see how many bees are there and see things like this. And it saves time and you don't have to go in there. Sometimes it's cold out, you know how those spring nights can be,
Oh yeah.
but you can quickly just drop, because I have like two hinges. You just drop the whole thing and you can see the whole bottom. So if you have a little bit of experience, you can actually tell by looking. If you ever watch like Cayman or people do, they just lift up a box and like, yeah, this hive is good to go.
Yep.
Like me beekeeping, like when I started, I would probably not sleep that night because I didn't check
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So that was the whole thing. I said I can check them really quick. I can open up the bottom, check really quick for swarm cells, see if there is enough bees, what's going on, and save some time, close it up. Another thing was if I do a treatment, I can just put like a sheet on the bottom, quickly do a treatment, close it up, and see what comes down. And I also wanted to not just treatment, I wanted to see what bees drop on the bottom. I wanted to see like what they do with wax, what they do with all the stuff like the bugs and everything that comes in. Do they
Hmm.
really take it out? I know they take some out, but I wanted to see what else is accumulated in the bottom of the hive. And that's a lot easier than taking apart the whole hive and taking a bottom board out to see what's going on. You can't really do it on a vertical hive. So those are a few reasons that I wanted to make that bottom drop, bottom of the hive, entire bottom actually.
And after I seen you do that, I'm like, man, that was such a good design. That's a good idea. And and a lot of the beekeepers know that if you even have a vertical hive, you get a lot of trash buildup down there, right? So that
Yep.
bottom pops down, you can scrape all that off real quick, put it back up, and it's clean, right? So it's got a lot of advantages to it that I didn't think about until I seen you do that. It's like, man, he's on to something already. So he's a step ahead of me again. So.
Yeah. I was one thing I would point out, if you ever built one with the
Mhm.
bottom, I used plywood for the bottom.
Uh-huh.
It was I think 3/4 inch,
Yeah.
but I didn't use treated plywood.
Okay.
Trying to be natural as possible.
Natural. Yep.
Yeah. So it did kind of warp a little bit. So what
Okay.
I did on the next one, I did this and I put clear coat around, kind of kept the moisture out and everything, and it works just fine. It's been a few years outside, so
Okay.
like I don't think you want to use really thin bottom because
Right.
plywood it will bend and stuff from the elements
Right.
outside. Just wanted to point that out if you build one and save you some time.
Save you a lot of time. Absolutely. So good quality plyboard does make a big difference. So
Exactly. Yep. As long as if you want to use it, make sure it's a quality bottom board. It's not something you're trying to save money on and then end up with I ended up with like a half-inch gap because it worked on the first one. And I'm like, but luckily it's really easy. Just few screws, you can just replace it with something else.
yeah. Yeah, it's something you don't want to use 3/8 plyboard for.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
don't want to be cheap on this. You want a good bottom, trust me. I mean, you want that
Yep.
good insulation. So I see we got Bradley in here from down under Follow. Bradley again is somebody that you know, I got to meet on YouTube, and he was kind of during our time, and he's got a great channel. And enjoy talking to Bradley. Thanks, Bradley, for showing up today. Um, so let's talk a little bit about your super stacker hive, I call it, because this is a horizontal hive that you're putting supers on top of it. So Lee, can you bring that up? So this is a different gentleman's here. Just leave it up for a second, and he's actually got 4 supers on this hive, and then he's got the bottom has all the bees in it. So this is Trev's Bees. If anybody's ever watched his channel, he's got some very innovative innovation stuff. So I picked this one out because Anel has built something similar to this. So can you find the other one, Lee?
I like that one. I haven't seen that one. I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah,
yeah, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, he's really I like this setup. If you know, because now you've got you got about 20 frames underneath this hive. Yep. And you're just letting them build the super up. So you basically got your brood nest and your supers on top. So explain to us a little bit about how this thing works.
So, yep, exactly how you said it. So the bottom is just the brood nest. It has, I think, because I have a couple of different ones, don't if I miss a couple of frames, 18 or 20 frames on the bottom. And I use that as a brood nest, and they build up like honey for themselves and pollen and stuff. So the top takes 2 8-frame supers on this one particularly because I built it like that, so it takes 8. So the reason 8-frame supers are on top is because if I have to put 10, the hive becomes a lot longer, the bottom one, and I didn't want that, so I didn't want to really do much on the bottom. I just wanted to be a brood nest and put supers on top, collect honey, take it off. Now I can put either a super or a deep. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Up here on top, or I can stack them too. I can go more than 2. I can go 4 if I wanted to, if I have enough flow, enough honey. Yep. And that's one of the hives that has the drop bottom. So the drop bottom is there because I wanted to keep that brood undisturbed. Mm-hmm. Experimenting, leaving everything there, and from the bottom I can see if there's swarm cells, anything. I don't have to actually move these supers to get, through all of the bottom frames and everything else. So I built the dimensions exactly to fit 2 8-frame supers. What I was concerned about, you see, they sit right in the box. I have a little lip, like you would for the frame that lays on top. It's same thing. These laid right on top. I just did a little lip around like 1/4 inch, and they sit right inside. I was concerned that the water would come in here,
right,
on the sides. And so I built the top that covers overlaps. So overlaps so when you put the top on, these boxes are sitting inside of the top. So you have 4 inches on the side, it sits right inside. They're underneath, and I've never had an issue with it.
Okay, that's awesome to know. And I really want to try this method. I think it's a very good way to get a very good honey production, and you've got all your brood at the bottom, and you're not having to, if you do a double brood box or a brood and a super that's got brood in it, you're not having to dig down to that bottom box. You've got a couple of supers on top.
Yep. So this is exactly, it's right there. Like it's kind of like double deep horizontal hive. It takes about 20 frames. I found this to be the best size of the horizontal hive for me,
right.
Because it's like double deep, same thing, 20 frames when you think about it. And then you have supers on top, except it's a lot easier to just take these supers off. You don't have to lift boxes to check the bees on the bottom too. It's a horizontal hive on the bottom.
Right. Right. So let me mention to everybody on here that Anel's got some videos on how he has made his horizontal hives. So if you check his website out or his YouTube channel out, it's there. And and he does go really good step by step. And just really remember, whether you want to make it 30 frames or 20 frames, it's just shrinking the wood up just a little bit. Once you get that size correctly, you're pretty much good to go.
Yep. As long as you have the size to fit the frame inside, then you can go, like you said, 6 feet, 8 feet, 19, I don't know, however you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make like a 20-foot hive and have a bunch of hives in one. I
Hey,
don't
now
know.
don't be stealing my idea, because I've got something like that coming up.
Do
So
you?
I do. I do actually.
I
Uh,
thought about it. I'm like, I cannot. That's too much.
yeah, me and Frederick Dunn's been going back and forth about it, because somebody had put some beehives in their barn, and he's like, "Yeah, you could put tons of bees out through here." And I'm like, "I'm about to invent the world's largest horizontal hive, so don't you be messing with my ideals." So this thing's going to be monster, let me tell you. So
That's awesome, actually. I've thought about it. Like when I was building it, I said, you know how long you can make one of these hives? Like 20 feet, and
yeah,
have like 15 hives in one. Just
that's
one.
right. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then all you have to do is move the divider boards around. I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty simple when you start thinking about how you could do that. And I was gonna put in the top of my barn where my hayloft's at, and drill some holes. And hey, people, don't be stealing my Guinness Book of World Records idea yet, okay? So, but yeah, that's
I
kind of
don't
what
have time for that one, Ricky. I'll let you build that one.
all
I'll,
right, all right, all
I'll do
right.
something else.
So, as a builder, I build a lot of stuff, and a lot of times it just didn't work out, or that didn't work quite the way I had expected. Can you just mention something that didn't work, or that it worked a little different than what you had expected? And can you explain to us what happened?
So I think what didn't work for me was building long hives, like too long of hives.
Hmm.
I've had hives with like 47 frames, I think,
Hmm.
but I've had one colony in there.
Yeah.
So that's just too much for one colony of bees.
Right.
I've learned that, you experiment and you learn things.
Right.
So I went to splitting, making uh, two colonies on each side. We talked about that earlier,
Yeah.
and having them fill the honey in the middle.
Yeah.
That didn't work for me either. They
Okay.
just they just wouldn't. I don't know why, but that's one of the things that it kind of bugs me because in theory it should work.
Right.
It should work, but it didn't, and I don't know why. Because I've had a short experiment with it, really, to be honest.
Okay.
One of the sides one of the side hives absconded, and then I was again left with one, and I'm like, it's too much. It just didn't work for me, at least not that time. But that's not to say I won't try that again. So
I'm glad you say that, because I've got a lady right now that's got that same experiment going. Got two hives on either side, queen excluder, and they've got holes on either side, but they also have a central entrance.
okay.
And so the bees are, co-mingling in that center position, and they're starting to put some honey there for this fall flow that we're having. So I hope it
Okay.
works out. You got me a little worried when you said, I was like, oh no, this may not work. So, as inventors and designers, a lot of times some things don't work out that we think that will. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it might be like I said. It was for me. It was just one absconded in the middle of like a month later, so I didn't really get a full experience on the whole thing. But I
right,
think maybe I've built the hive too big too. So I've
right,
had like a lot of frames for each of these hives on the side. I don't think you want 30 and 30 hives frames for each hive on the side, and then
hmm
30 frames in the middle for honey. That doesn't work.
yeah. I
I've
think
learned.
David Lewis down here. He says, he said, I said 6 long lanes, none of them filled out 30 frames this year. So, but he's one hive and one long lane hive. So, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so how I do it too, like some of my hives don't fill out every year,
right.
but I'll just have a divider at the end of the whatever I have, maybe 15, 20 frames,
Yeah.
and they do just fine. They'll fill up still honey, but some
Yeah.
bees don't want to fill out all of the frames of bees
Well,
do.
you know, people get really hung up on it's my hive, it's my type of hive. But even vertical hives, you can have a vertical hive that never does nothing all year long.
Yep,
And that same thing can happen in a horizontal hive. It can sit there all year long. If that queen's not good, if they've got mites really bad or small hive beetles, you know, something's wrong that they won't fill that hive out. So, and
exactly.
and people's got to understand it. Maybe it's not the hive itself. It's just maybe you need a new queen. There's something else going on there that needs to be fixed. So,
Most of the time, it's not the hive; it's the bees. Something else is holding the bees. Like I have like behind me, not in a picture, more. I got more horizontal hives.
mhm.
So they're all different. All five of them are different. They have none of them are the same. You would say, okay, this one's got 15 frames filled out in this one. No, some of them have like 10 frames all year, and I know something wrong with the bees. But
Right.
then when I open, I have a video when I open one of the hives.
Mhm.
So many bees in there. It's. I think they could have filled out another horizontal hive. It's
Right.
busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just the the bees. I
yeah,
think.
and then the flow, people don't understand about flow. You know, they may taper back and you're not gonna see as many bees in this hive. And then when the flow hits, next thing you know, the whole box seems like it's full of bees. So
Yeah.
the flow can dictate a lot about what goes on also. So let me ask you another question, and we've kind of touched on it a couple times, and it's moisture control. You know, with these horizontal hives, you know, I've had some people say, "Hey, I'm having moisture issues with that." Have you seen that? And can you explain some things maybe you've done to fix that issue?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've noticed that too. So I've had moisture control problems myself when I first built them. So what I did, if you look at some of my hives, they have those little circles, the entrance door things. I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, dials. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep. So I have them all around the hive on the sides and two on the back, and sometimes I have one in the front. Um, so the way my tops are built, they have the gap in between the 4 inch gap. It's a two
Mhm.
by four around. And I've put those, excuse me, put those holes around and put those so I can control. I can close them or
Mhm.
open. So, and that fixed my moisture problem. So it just lets the moisture out at the top.
Mhm.
And it can be in the winter time. I see a lot of people like they insulate, they close everything. I think that
Mhm.
contributes to a problem, is my
Yep.
opinion.
Yep.
So I keep mine open fully. They're like an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch hole, whatever it
Yeah.
is. I keep them open all the way around. They're
Right.
literally just open all the way and
Mhm.
let that air and condensation
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Yep. I think if you close all the holes, like even on the covers and stuff, there's no way for anything to come out, especially if you don't have a
Yeah.
bottom open. If you have a bottom open, I think you solve the issue right there. If you have like a mesh bottom or whatever
Right.
open bottom,
Yeah.
you'll solve that. But that's how I fixed mine because I have solid bottoms
Right.
and I fixed mine. I just added a bunch of ventilation holes on top of the cover, and it just lets air out. And I leave
Right.
it open like that during the winter. I know it can be. First year, I thought about like they're too cold.
Yeah.
They're not. The bees are
Yeah.
not cold.
Yeah,
They'll be
and
fine.
they'll actually, if you put too many entrances, they'll fill those up also, so that they
Yes.
don't want that airflow. So,
Yeah.
something to think about also.
Good.
Um,
Good things with these, Ricky, with these little circle things. I don't know what you call them. You have
mhm.
the big metal ones in the plastic. You can actually turn them to fully open it, or those little holes that they have like a
Yeah,
mesh. So you can kind of control how much temperature. You can play around with it, or not
yeah,
temperature, air you want. You can play around. Sometimes I open them all the way, but if I see that it's really kind of dry in there, I'll just close one or two, or just close
right.
it halfway till I get the right air movement in there.
And I think that's you know, in my beekeeping class, because I've taken some classes, and they showed this experiment where they did 3 colonies, and one was just mesh screen, and they were open to the elements. And then they took one that just was open on the bottom completely, and then they did another one that was chambered completely up. Well, during the start of winter, the one that was closed completely up that had a lot of moisture, it actually it absconded out.
Yeah.
and the one that was in the mesh stayed, but as the winter went on, they couldn't keep themselves warm enough on the outside. So they just need something blocking that air off, because the one with the bottom open, it did great. So
Yeah, yeah, bottom does it because like my Apame hive and the other one, I don't close the bottom. I keep the bottom open. You know how it's kind of like it
yeah,
has holes. I keep
yeah,
it
screw
up.
bottom. Yeah.
Yep. So you just keep it open and there is no issues with the moisture at all. Because I see it as like if you look at like the Apame, it has those feeders when they're on top as a top cover. That
Hmm.
closes up everything too.
Right. Yeah.
So just having the bottom, I've never had an issue. So just having a bottom open
Yeah.
works. So
Yeah, I like a screen bottom board that I'm really seeing is working really good for the horizontals right now. So,
yep.
Spanky, it's good seeing you, brother, and we appreciate you and all that you've done. We've been praying for your family. So, uh, let's uh, let's talk about something. Uh, maybe maybe your funnest experience in beekeeping. Anel. Hey, Lee, can you bring up that picture you had up just a second ago? Yeah, that right there. I figured that maybe it was this yellow suit that you was wearing was your funniest experience, but if it's not, you can explain to the rest of us what it is. Can you hear me now? Oh, I've lost him there, Lee. Uh-oh.
Look like he froze up for
There
just
you
a
go.
second. I think he's back.
Are you back there now? Can you hear us? Well, as all beekeepers, there's always an experience that you have that you're in your bee yard, whether you're out there and you're doing something. And I'll tell one of myself, and maybe they'll come back here in just a second. But I was helping a friend, and they had a small swarm. It was about this big, and I just happened to pull my hood over, and the next thing I know, we got it in the box, and she said, "Hey, I need a frame of brood. Can you go give me a frame of brood?" And she said, "It's over here." And it was this super big hive. And I said, "Yeah, I can get over there and get you some brood out." And I was taking the box apart. Next thing I know, my hood was full of bees because I hadn't zipped it because we was dealing with that swarm just a second ago. And man, they lit me up all over the face. So that was not fun. So that's my funny experience in beekeeping. No, you got something like that?
Yeah, sorry. I think I was out for a second.
Yeah, you was out just for a second. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny moments in beekeeping, man. It's always something. I don't know about the funniest one. Let me think. Yeah, I have I have had I think it's funny when I first started it's still funny, it still happens actually. So when you put on your suit and you go to your bees and you're doing inspection and stuff and then you realize that there's a couple of bees inside of your
Yep.
veil and I always forget to zip up the sides of the veil.
Yeah.
But it's different, so it's different when you go to the bees and you don't have anything on, and it's
Right.
different when you find bees inside of you.
Inside your suit. Yeah. You're,
It's
I don't
totally,
know. Yeah.
yes, totally different experience, and it's always funny to me. I always laugh after I get the bees out. I always laugh, but yeah, that happens to me quite often.
Right. And does anybody have any questions for Anel before we let him go? It's 8 o'clock. And I appreciate you being on here and sharing your designs and your features and sharing it with the rest of the public. I know you have your own channel and you've got a lot of subscribers, but is there anybody that's got a question for Anel before we take off?
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. While we wait for if any questions come in,
Yeah.
I appreciate
What's the most honey that he ever had from his horizontal?
My wife wants to know how much is the most honey you've ever got out of your horizontal hive.
how much honey.
Yeah.
Probably 100 pounds.
Yeah. That's about right.
I would say about 100 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to do more than that because Cayman had 100 pounds out of his horizontal hive, so I've got to step my game up.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I think that's the most I've had. What I've learned on these horizontal hives is I used to just give them, if it's a 33 frame, just put 33 frames when the flow starts in there.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't that doesn't work that much. They fill up a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit brood here, and it just doesn't work. I've
Right.
learned that for me it works if I keep adding. When they fill up a frame, keep add a couple of more frames. Don't just give them 30 frames to work with. They do
Uh-huh.
some funny stuff.
Yeah, that's right. So, now someone wants to know, how far are you from Cincinnati? Or
Hey, David, I am only 10-minute drive. I'm in Florence, Kentucky, which is 10 minutes outside of Cincinnati.
Okay. And Hannah said hello, my dear wife.
Who?
Hannah from Gunline Bees.
Tell her hello.
And she said hello. So I do appreciate everybody coming on. Like I said, it's our first live, and Anel, he said he would do it no matter how bad it turned out. He'd come out and support me, and hopefully it wasn't too bad on him tonight. And I do appreciate you coming out and again talking about your designs, and that's what I want to do with this channel is let's talk about maybe an Apple hive better for you. It's a top bar hive for you. And you might learn something, even though you might run a vertical hive, you might learn something that that might work for you or might be better. Or you might come up with a design that would help, it can help me out or help Anel out with his designs. So, but I do appreciate you coming on here and being with us, Anel, and you've always been a great person that supported me and like a lot of these other people that are on here tonight have supported me, and I just appreciate you and I appreciate Lee that's behind the camera. He's kind of helping me out tonight, so couldn't do it without Lee and everybody else being here. So thanks to my subscribers, and we'll see y'all later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Ricky. It was a pleasure, man. It was really fun.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you, buddy.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Later.